great I am. I don't have to tell you about my strategy.
Yeah, I used to smoke reefer. What? I mean, you know, preachers, we gotta stop.
I have no motherfucking fear. I have no fear. I have only ambition, and I want mine. And I will do anything to protect and feed my family.
Well, it's not your game. You didn't make the rules, so everything comes hard. As long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winning. A select few of us will do well.
Everything you do, you go hard. When they doubt you, you definitely got to go hard. When you fall, you go hard. That pain gonna make you grow. Big motion.
Alright. Capture the moment. That's how we live in our real life. Here. Stop rub poor people and 9 to 5 people. Grind for no things. And you can accomplish and be anything you want to be.
What up, world? You already know what time it is. Your boy, man, Mizzle, the host with the most, never need to brag, no boast. All we ever did was give a toast to the real folks who done paved the way in a real way for us players to play. And I got a good one for y'all today, man. Hip hop beefs. Let's get it in, man, because it seems to me in the 50 years of hip hop, there've been a lot of beefs on wax that turn off wax, and I'm like, where do we draw the line, you know? Where's the discrepancy, you know what I'm saying? So I like to, you know, look at everything in the proper perspective and see where I could draw the line and where hip-hop competitiveness and beefs could be like there could be a difference between the two, you know. I mean, you could compete, but you don't have to beef to the point where you're basically putting your life on the line for some rhymes, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it really is angry poems, you know what I'm saying? Imagine being a grown-ass man and you singing an angry poem to somebody. People will think you're crazy. So now, I'm watching this whole Chris Brown and Quavo thing. And I'm like, I understand, man. I understand where it's going. And it's disgusting because you got grown-ass men out here. They getting that shit on. After Chris Brown talk about homeboy's dead brother. It had nothing to do with rap beef, but now it became a rap beef because he has problems with Quavo over chicks and all that, which is mad corny if you ask me. And I ain't in the cornball movement, you know what I'm saying? Like, miss me with all that shit. I would never beef with somebody over some corny shit, over some chick. I ain't never talking down of the dead because you gotta let the dead rest in peace, you know? You can't be out here disrespecting people's family members and all that. On some Chicago Joe shit for attention. Because mostly what these cats need is attention, you know what I'm saying? So I was scrolling through the internet and I seen Rock Ness talking about it. About internet beefs, and it really made me think, you know. Ever since the Tupac shit, Tupac and Biggie really didn't have no beef. It was Suge and Diddy. So since Suge and Diddy had beef, we created an atmosphere where everybody could have beef. And that's the lamest shit in the world, you know? Because now everybody wants to be on the level of Tupac and Biggie instead of thriving to be like the companies that got them the fame and notoriety. But those companies were built off beef as well. Uh, all sorts of other shit, you know? So you gotta ask yourself, is this another white supremacist scheme to divide us? We call it competition or opposition. Hip hop ops, you know what I'm saying? Forget the hip hop cops, they got the hip hop ops now. So if hip hop means higher infinite power healing our people, as per Professor Griff, sorry about that. I got a little message. So I just figured let's go through these hip hop beefs and the outcome. Let's see if it made any sense to actually do it. You know what I'm saying? The only one that's really high level like that I think stood the test of time and both artists really thrived is Jay versus Nas. Other than that, it's all bullshit. Don't get caught up in the smoke and mirrors. So let's check this out.
On where I stand in all of this vegan beef madness. Allow me to clear it up. Before I do, what up, y'all? Welcome to the nation, Monster Nation, that is.
Monster.
Mr. Monster Man Rocco, aka the Rockness Monster. I'm your tour guide, your president. I'm your host. I'm the king around here. I'm the landlord. I'm the owner. I'm the tenant. I'm the janitor. I'm off the damn floor. Like, comment, subscribe, share, leave a super thanks. Do all the things that make a page pop. Oh yeah, hit the
I like Rock's perspective. Because look, vegan beef part 10. See, you've been covering this shit with these little rappers since they start coming back out dissing each other. Haven't y'all noticed all these rappers that are coming out are dissing somebody? It's like, I get you having hit singles out there, and you just come with a diss track, you know what I'm saying? Because you've been wanting to go at this person, you know what I'm saying? But if you out here with no big tracks like that, no big body of work, why you out here dissing people? You know what I'm saying? I can get Kendrick's part because Kendrick came out, did this verse, and now it's still charting at number one. That was a smart move by him, you know what I'm saying? Because he ain't really come out with a diss track after that because he knows that he got to show a body of work. And the diss track is just like a secondary thing where it's like, yeah, I can be in competitive process too, but I rather focus on my art, which Tupac was doing, you know, which Jay was doing, which Nas was doing. So let's continue and listen to what Rockness got to say. And then do my commentary on that. And then we're going to go into other ones. It's going to be a good morning show. So bear with me here. Let's get it in.
So back to the topic. I know it may seem like I'm all over the place. Like, I'm not expecting nobody to watch every one of my videos from beginning to end. I mean, if you do it, I appreciate it. Thank you. You're the best citizens of them all, right? But I understand that ain't what everybody do. So if you catch me in one section of the story, I might be saying, I might be talking about how I don't like subliminal diss records, right? Subliminal disses is not my thing, right? So you'll hear me saying that. But then maybe if you come in, pause at another section of the saga, you will hear me saying something like, I don't want none of this to happen. Like, I don't mind. Like, I support J. Cole for taking himself out of the equation. You know what I mean? You might hear me at another at another point in my commentary saying that it never stays just hip hop. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if they gonna be dissing each other, I want to hear some good dishes, right? So I understand that all of those things may contradict each other, whatever, depending on if maybe they don't, maybe they do. I feel like they could. So I just want to just make it clear, right? I don't like none of it. I mean, I like dope lyrics and I love dope cadences and I love aggressive lyrics and all of that. All of my 96% of my lyrics are all aggressive, right? But they're not, I'm not disrespecting anybody directly. I just, my lyrics have evolved to a point where I just disrespect stupidity in general. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I disrespect any threat to, you know, my well-being and my family and our money and whatever. Like, but like, I don't take shots at other rappers. It's not something I do, right? So that's my wholehearted position. I don't want to see none of the drama, all of this drama that y'all are loving right now. I understand why y'all love it. I understand that y'all think, I understand. We've all said this, that the competition is what hip hop was based off of, and it's good for hip hop. I don't know if I completely agree with those things. You understand what I'm saying? Like the first person, I don't know. Maybe the first person who wrote a rap, was he competing with somebody? I don't know. Do we know who wrote the first rap? I don't know. You understand what I'm saying? That's just the narrative that we swing it, and pause, and everybody's with it. You know what I mean? We've all adopted the narrative and we ran with it. You know what I mean? Competition is good for hip hop. Yeah, we say that everybody's adopted the narrative, but that's not what New Yorkers are saying when they mad about the South winning. You know what I mean? All of us in New York, when we talk about whatever other region was winning when New York hip hop, was struggling or whatever, was not living up to whatever standards we thought. We complain about how the South, all of the rappers in the South stick together. That's how they, you understand what I'm saying? That's how they was winning. So I'm not saying who's right. I'm just saying I don't know. I don't know if competition is good for, you understand what I'm saying, hip hop or not. Maybe it is, maybe in some points it's bad. I know in some ways it's bad. And what what I've come to, what I've come to realize, what I've known all along is like very rarely does it ever just stay hip hop. As long as y'all keep it hip hop, it's gonna be all good. Listen, are you a rapper? Like, are you a rapper who, like, if you're a rapper who has dealt with a certain level of fame, like the fame that a major label will give you, it creates a certain type of image, ego, a belief in yourself, a certain expectation, and it's not to say that everything the world is supposed to bow to our feet, right? But we used to we've become accustomed to a certain kind of treatment, and you know people don't talk to us like that. And if you're going to talk to us like that, talk to not to say that no rapper has anybody that could tell them about themselves or rank on them or say anything bad about them, but you're going to do it in public. You're going to put it on a song. You're going to make it a hit like that's a that's a recipe for a bruised ego. You understand what I'm saying? And you want to talk about they need to grow. Listen, grow up or be more mature. Like the rappers are kids today. That's burst the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, second of all, you don't even need to have you don't even need to know how to read to be a rapper. You got some of these people are mentally unstable than the some of them. But now they're in a position of power because of money, or they just in a position of fame where their ego and all of these things, and somebody bruising their ego and it goes bad, right? And I see too much potential for that in all of these situations. And, you know, in all of my blogs, I be reading the comments and all, and I try to get to most of them or all of them if I can, right? And I saw the comments. I was reading the comments on a blog I dropped yesterday. The one where the good brothers at EYL tried to get me disowned by Outlaw Nation and all that by saying that I diss pot. You know what I'm saying? Or help the skill to diss pot, which we never did. You know what I mean? I had I was speaking about that, and they also mentioned that we this big, and I spoke upon that, and somebody stated you know, in in my blog when I was talking about it, I was saying like, we this big in the video. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace to Big. Salute to Junior Mafia and all parties involved. Right? We this big in the video and all of that, but we never dissed them on wax. We never dissed them on wax. Like, and it wasn't subliminal. Like, we had a whole Biggie lookalike. I don't think that's subliminal. Somebody was in the comments saying, y'all did this, Biggie. Y'all did this, y'all did that. And they pointed out the fact that we had the Operation Lockdown skit at the end of the Nocturnal album, where we was taking shots. We kind of this big subliminally, but it wasn't just big. It was a whole genre of hip hop. You understand what I'm saying? It was that whole style of hip hop, which Biggie fell into that category, right? But it wasn't direct. So I guess that can be considered subliminal, right? But understand this, there was real smoke brewing. You understand what I'm saying? That beef did not just remain hip hop. And maybe that is the reason that I take the position that I take on all of this, because I've lived through it. I don't know why I never thought to tell y'all this earlier in episode 1 of Vegan Beef. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I've lived through this. I've lived through this. The beef that we had with Biggie went to the streets very fast. You understand what I'm saying? And I experienced a loss. Like, we all take losses, right? But I experienced a loss that I was not able to accept, and and that's the story that everybody heard of with the, you know what I'm saying, with the Junior Mafia and the string and the studio and all that. I was not there when that happened, right? Just to put that out there. Somebody said, just responding to something else that was in another comment, right? I wasn't there, but the loss was still felt by me. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you understand what I'm saying? We didn't win them all, right? But the moral of the story is, it did not just remain hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And we talking about some very capable rappers that could have rapped it out, but nah. You understand what I'm saying? Maybe I'm traumatized. I mean, I don't want to see that for y'all. You understand what I'm saying? Like, Biggie and Pac dissed each other for years or whatever. Pac subliminal. No. Pac direct. Biggie subliminal. It's still, you know what I mean? It didn't play out good. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all keep thinking, because I titled this series Vegan Beef, right? Pause. So all of the pause haters, go that way. I tell you, it's fun to me. Don't trip. I know I can. Y'all keep trying to tell me that ain't nothing gonna happen because y'all don't think Chris Brown tough. Y'all don't think Drake tough. This one ain't tough. This ain't none of this. Ain't nothing. But did y'all see Chris Brown's response to Quavo's response? Like, when he was online calling it trash and all of that. Then he said, "I'm not even going to respond to this. I don't even need to respond to this. I'm gonna respond in the streets." Did y'all see that? I'm not. I might be messing up the words a little bit, but that's basically what the tweet that I saw said. Maybe not verbatim, but I'm paraphrasing. That's what it said, and that's me paraphrasing. The video that I saw it in, the way they paraphrased it was crazy. What they said was, Chris Brown threatens to boom, and they didn't say boom. Chris Brown threatens to boom Quavo, Blasey. That was how they paraphrased it. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I didn't see Chris Brown say that, right? What I saw Chris Brown say was what I said I saw him say, right? What I saw, the typage, right? But this is what I'm saying. Now, what about Quavo homeboys? The ones that don't know how to read. Salute to Quavo or whatever. I'm just saying, everybody ain't watching and reading through all of. I'm saying you could become a platinum rapper without a diploma. You ain't even got to know how to read. Some niggas write raps without even writing them. You understand what I'm saying? So who knows what? All right, let's not. I don't. Just so nobody in Quavo, just so don't nobody in Quavo can't think I just because nigga. Just so don't nobody think that I said that they can't read. What if a fan who can't read, who just is scrolling around on YouTube and he just saw that, it's weird people out here. It's weird people out here, and never mind the paraphrasing that whoever made that video said. What Chris Brown said himself is enough in the tweet that I read or the Instagram post where he said he gonna handle it in the street. That's enough. I would take that as a threat. I would. But y'all keep on thinking. You know what I mean? Y'all think what y'all think. I can't tell y'all how to think. I'm not here to argue with y'all. I'm just trying to just shed my little bit of light on the situation. You know what I mean? My perspective. I know y'all like the dope raps. I like the dope raps too. Speaking of which, did you hear the Cassidy song? Cassidy went at Easy the Black Captain. This is interesting. I mean, Easy the Black Captain, most of the people probably watching all of the Drake and Chris Brown and Rick Ross and all, they probably don't know about Easy the Black Captain, but he's a battle rapper. And he's one of the more notable ones of this era. You know what I mean? He came later than all of the, Math Hoffers and Murder Mooks and Loaded Lux, and he came way later than all of that, but he's one of the popping ones now. You know what I mean? But he's from Philly, so is Cassidy, and Cassidy just went crazy on the ball, as they say in Philly. It's dope. It's dope. It's what a Cassidy was always good at this, but it's what a diss record's supposed to sound like. Again, I want to say I want to double down on my situation. I listened to the Quavo and Chris Brown songs again, and yes, Chris Brown's song, to a rapper who raps like me, Chris Brown's song sounds better. But when I listen to the lyrics, like Chris Brown could have spit at least half of those lyrics at somebody else, right? You understand what I'm saying? They hardcore dope bars, right? I feel like Quavo joint was a little bit more personalized. I feel like they won one, or it almost pains me to say it. I feel like Quavo might be up just because of the content. Like if you take the raps and the rhythms and the words that rhyme out of it, and you just imagine that these two dudes were having an argument with each other, and one of them is going, "Look, you mad because you whatever you what he said, what Chris Brown said. He said one dude is saying to you, yeah, you smashed my ex, but I smashed your ex while you was with her, and this, that, and the third, blah 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 blah, and I was gonna beat you up when I blah." And the other one is like, "Yo, you mad over?" The other guy's like, "But you mad over some chicks? That's all you do is get mad over chicks, huh? Like you had to do this one, it was that one. You tried to fight with this one, and blah 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 blah." And I feel like those two arguments. I mean, you be the judge. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but that's the spiciest battle going on right now. Where I think you might not like the way Quavo rhyme, but this battle is a battle, and already at least one of the participants is talking about taking it to the streets. What are we doing? What are we talking about here? Why are y'all arguing with me? Talking about this is just whatever it is y'all talking about. It's only hip hop. Y'all bugged out. Y'all really is. Y'all really is. I went to my old block and talked to the homies, and just for confirmation, like just just for confirmation, like if what I mean, I didn't go over there for that, but when I ran into the homies and they was talking about this stuff going on, just for confirmation, I just asked them how would they handle that if I was in, how would they feel if I was enthralled in a situation like this? They ain't saying nothing y'all want to hear. You understand what I'm saying? Nothing good, B. Nothing. So I'm just checking. I'm just checking. You know what I'm saying? Um, I feel like I'm forgetting to say something here. If I remember, I'm gonna make a whole nother blog about it. Thanks for rocking with me. If you made it to the end of this video, what am I forgetting? Anyway, I don't like it. I like dope rhymes, but I don't like this.
And he's right for feeling that way because it's all bullshit at the end of the day. Like, what are they really fighting over? A girl? You ready to diss your man, your counterparts, another rapper? Really, this is dead man's or a girl? Sweetie's was messed up because Sweetie was dealing with Offset too. Now he got to go at Chris Brown over Sweetie too. Like, come on, that shit is lame as hell. Yo. Real dudes do real things, man. We ain't on that bullshit, bro. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like that shit is the corniest shit in the world. No one cares about who's this, like who banged who and all that. But that was Chris Brown's whole premise, like, yo, I'll beat you up, you bang my chick. I don't want to mess up the money. Blah blah blah. We wish it was you that got killed. Today your cousin, blah blah blah. And I know that Mrs. Quavo up till this day. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you say he was all in the videos and all that, doing all types of shit, right? Trying to be in the forefront of everything. Since his cousin got killed, you see Quavo out there doing the most? Maybe he found out the error of his ways and he fell back, you know? But no, y'all ain't gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I was gonna be on some hater vibes. I can't respect that one. Straight up. I can't respect that at all. Now we all know about Tupac and Biggie going at it. And why their untimely demise came so early is because Suge Knight and Puffy was going at it. So it was a death row bad boy thing before it became a Tupac and Biggie thing. You know? And then you got your artists taking jabs at each other, different songs. Biggie taking jabs at Pac. Pac taking jabs at Death Row Bad Boy. And the two puppeteers in the background. Suge and Diddy. Just waiting in the wings to see what's going on. But before the shooting, 96, there was a source of words where they were going at it, and that caused the greater confusion. You know, Suge Knight and Diddy went at it over people in their entourage. You know, and that was causing the mayhem and confusion everywhere. So let me break it down to y'all one time. It's always an underlying thing in the back. It's not whatever you see at face value. So always go deeper because the devil's in the details, man. You'll be able to fish it out once you realize, recognize, and analyze what's going on.
It's kicking it like that. You know, we ain't out here essing on our chest, but you know, it's like
everybody out here want to be a tough guy, killer, a gangster. You understand? But most of the killers and gangsters I know either got all day or dead. So everybody out here just living. So, you know, we kicking from that perspective. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like
Universal dude came out in a double-breasted suit all the time. Timmy Brennan was down there with him. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
A lot has been said about the beating of a promoter named Mark Anthony Bell at a Death Row Records Christmas party in 1995. It was even recreated in the Unsolved series on USA Network and Netflix that I was a co-producer on. But the details about what happened are wild, and I think this story establishes two big things. The serious turn that the East Coast-West Coast rivalry took following the murder of Suge's friend Jake Robles in Atlanta, and that Tupac's assault on Southside Crip Orlando Anderson in Las Vegas on the night of Tupac's murder wasn't an isolated incident. When the rivalry escalated to gang violence, Pac was, unfortunately, right in the middle of it. In August of 1995, Suge Knight gave his infamous speech at the Source Awards, where he dissed Puffy on stage.
Any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
The following month, on September 23rd, 1995, a Campanella Park Pyru named Jake Robles, a.k.a. Big Jake, who was close friends with Suge Knight and worked at Death Row Records, was shot while he and Suge were leaving the Platinum Club in Atlanta, following a party thrown by Jermaine Dupri. Robles clung to life in an Atlanta hospital for a few weeks before succumbing to his injuries. And an alleged bad boy associate named Anthony Wolf Jones has long been considered the prime suspect. Jones was himself killed outside of a different Atlanta nightclub nearly a decade later. But what's more important is that Suge Knight reportedly held Puffy indirectly responsible for Jake's murder. On December 15th, 1995, just 3 months after Big Jake is shot in Atlanta, Death Row Records is having a Christmas party at a home in the Hollywood Hills. And a record promoter from New York named Mark Anthony Bell, who went to high school with Puffy, decides he wants to attend. He'd done work for various record companies and had worked for Death Row approximately 30 times. So he had a history with them. One of Bell's friends had been hired as a photographer for this Christmas party, and Bell wants to go to the party, but he doesn't have a ticket. So he goes with his friend, the photographer, down to Death Row's offices the afternoon of the party, and Suge's assistant either gives him a ticket or tells him he shouldn't have a problem getting in without one. On a previous visit to LA, just a few weeks after Jake Robles died, Bell had been approached in the lobby of that same Death Row Records building after meeting with Death Row to inquire about work. As he was leaving through the lobby, a Death Row employee handed Bell a typewritten note asking him to, quote, reveal any information on Combs, Combs' family, or associates. The note instructed him to reply on the note and to then simply drop it on the floor. And Bell apparently refused to do this. So about a month and a half later, Bell and his friend arrive at the Christmas party around 10:30 at night, and his friend goes to work photographing the party. And the following account of what happened has been cobbled together from multiple reports by the LAPD and the FBI. At around 2 a.m., Suge Knight arrives with an entourage. And while Suge is making the rounds, he encounters Bell and asks him, why didn't you cooperate previously? Apparently a reference to the note he was passed weeks earlier at Death Row's offices. And Suge tells him, you didn't want to cooperate, and that he's a man of his word and would do what he said. But Bell tells Suge that, quote, he didn't know anything and he didn't have any information regarding where Puffy stayed when he came to LA. But Bell tells him anyone can get the phone number for Puffy's office in New York and call him. And this turns out to be not the answer Suge wanted to hear. So according to Bell, Suge says to come upstairs where they could finish their conversation. And this is like the part in the horror movie where the audience is like, do not go upstairs. But Bell follows Suge upstairs to the VIP room where he's going to get a special form of VIP service. The people in the VIP room supposedly included a photographer for the New York Times and someone from MTV and various other media people, and also Bell's photographer friend that he had arrived with. And that friend asks him if everything's okay, and Bell says yes, but, quote, gave him a bad look. It's like, does this look like I'm okay? So Suge allegedly has his brother-in-law, Norris Anderson, clear everyone out of the VIP room and then stand outside the door. And left in the room with Bell is allegedly Suge Knight, Tupac Shakur, Dr. Dre, a male black with gold teeth whose name Bell doesn't catch, so he's just referred to in this report as Gold Teeth, and 2 other men. Suge puts a chair in the middle of the room and tells Bell to have a seat, and Suge takes a seat in front of him. Suge asks him about Puffy and asks again why Bell didn't cooperate, and Bell tells him he doesn't want to get involved. Suge asks him questions about Combs' parents and where his mother lives, where Puffy...
P.O. Today, it's so hard for family-owned businesses to compete with huge corporations. They have billions of dollars in major technology to invest.
Oh, hell no, player.
I have great news, though, because we're purchasing here at Pravada Cigar Club the POP 100. And what the POP 100 does is it kind of levels the playing field, man. I'm going to be able to do 5 times the amount of orders. I'm going to be able to do all my orders before customers and making sure that everyone's happy. And then
his office is. And then this is interesting to me. Bell claims that Tupac would whisper into Knight's ear and he would ask more questions. So it's like Tupac is feeding questions to Suge during this interrogation. And during these questions, Gold Teeth offers his own input, which is hitting Bell on the side of the face. And he says, this is for the person who died. Most likely a reference to Jake Robles. And we're going to kill you. And he or another person in the room also says, that was our homie that died. So Bell is beaten with fists and champagne bottles, and Suge tells him he's going to have to deliver Puffy. And Tupac says Bell is lying about not knowing where Combs was at. And one of the other men tells him, I could kill you now if Knight says so. And then Suge goes into the bathroom and comes out with a glass that Bell believes is full of urine. And Suge hands the glass of piss over to Bell, and lucky for him, Gold Teeth hits him again, and this makes him drop the glass. And at that point, he makes a break for it, and he runs out to a nearby balcony, hoping to either jump off of it or to at least be seen and get someone's attention. But Suge and Tupac grab him before he can get over the railing, and he holds on tight, and it takes about half a minute for them to break, hitting his hands to get him to let go. But lucky for him, even though he doesn't make it over, the gambit works, because downstairs, his friend, the photographer, sees him, quote, spread out on the balcony. And he thinks he sees Tupac making a stabbing motion at Bell. And as they're dragging him back into the room, Bell claimed that Tupac is hitting him on the neck. So they get him back inside the room, and Bell's friend said that he saw Suge come back outside and straighten out a Christmas tree. Because, you know, Suge's all about that holiday spirit. So the friend decides that Bell's life is in danger, and so he leaves and drives down the hill and flags down some police officers and tells them that Suge is up the hill trying to, quote, squeeze his friend for information, and that he's afraid that his friend was being stabbed. So the police take off up the hill to go check it out. Meanwhile, back inside the room, the altercation turns into a full-on beatdown after they've dragged Bell off of the balcony, with everyone hitting and kicking him and throwing things at him. And Suge supposedly says body blows only. And Gold Teeth puts Bell in a chokehold for a minute or two and says this is for our friend that died. And Bell nearly passes out and decides to just go with it, and he plays dead. And while he's on the floor, someone takes his watch off his wrist, and he also loses his gold chain and his wallet. And his attackers also consider taking his diamond earring. Altogether, about 30 grand worth of items and cash are taken off of him. Then they back off, and he stands up, and Suge suddenly acts like the beating never happened. And he offers him money, allegedly saying, if you come over to our side, I'll make you rich. And you can be a part of this team. I can make you rich. Do you want to make $500,000 or $1 million? Do you have friends that could deliver? So it's like, you may not know where Puffy stays in LA, but I bet people who do. And then they hear people talking on portable radios, and they get the heads up that the cops have arrived. And Suge walks Bell to the bathroom and tells him to clean himself up, and that if he wants his jewelry back, he can call Suge tomorrow and, quote, we'll talk about it. Gold Teeth then asked Suge, should I do him? And Suge was probably thinking, what, I just asked the guy to clean himself up and call me tomorrow. Like, weren't you listening? So Suge says he's good. And Gold Teeth tells Bell, you're lucky that he said you were good. And I think Gold Teeth needs to just settle down. So Bell cleans himself up. Suge supposedly tells Norris Anderson at the door not to let him leave until he's cleaned up. Suge and Tupac and Gold Teeth take off. I have no idea where Dre supposedly was in all of this. He's like a character who pops up at the beginning of a story and then the author forgets about him. So I have no clue if he had anything to do with this other than just allegedly being there. So Bell cleans up, heads downstairs, and he's met by a police officer who tells him that his friend was worried about his life. But since Suge and the others were only 10 feet away and he still feared for his safety, Bell told the officer that everything was all right. And she notes that he has a bloody lip and scratches on his neck. But Bell just says that he fell down, which is standing right there. He just wants to get out of there. So the officer calls him a cab and Bell leaves. He then goes to the house of a friend, and his friend's sister dresses his wounds. And then the next day he goes to the hospital, and eventually he goes home to New York. After returning to New York, Bell reportedly starts getting pages with the number 187, which he obviously interprets as threats. So the LAPD launches an investigation, even though he wasn't really cooperative at the scene, and they classify the case as a robbery due to the jewelry and cash that was allegedly taken. And the detectives get the FBI involved because Suge has allegedly been involved in several similar incidents that the FBI was apparently looking into. Detectives also reach out to Compton PD in the hope of identifying Gold Teeth, but that gets nowhere. And to this day, the identity of Gold Teeth has not been proven. All we can really do is guess. It should be noted that this incident happened while Snoop was in the middle of his murder trial. And according to the LA Times, Suge had already had 2 strikes against him from an assault in 1992. So Suge is in serious jeopardy here. If law enforcement can make a case for the assault on Bell, Suge could be facing 25 years in prison. And so this investigation drags on for months, with everyone on the death row side seemingly giving detectives the runaround. And the deputy district attorney ultimately decides not to press charges because Bell didn't report the incident to the officers at the scene when it happened. So they'd missed the opportunity to, quote, recover important evidence and even arrest the suspects on the spot. And as a result, there was a high likelihood of an unsuccessful prosecution. But I guess just to be safe, Death Row pays Bell a $600,000 settlement, virtually guaranteeing that he doesn't press charges. According to the LA Times, before receiving his money, he signed a statement declaring that he was virtually certain that Knight played no part in the assault, and that he questioned the accuracy of his own statements to police at the scene because he was drunk at the time. Ultimately, the case was closed by the LAPD as cleared other, and no one was ever charged in connection with the Mark Anthony Bell beating. So, as the rivalry between Death Row and Bad Boy expanded beyond the recording studio, as violent gang members on both sides started getting involved, it went from a war of words to kind of an actual war with blood being spilled, as we all know. And 9 months after the Bell beating, Tupac was dead. This story is kind of a B-side to the Michael Robinson story from the last episode, Russell Poole's theory that a suspect named Amir killed Biggie.
Amir or Amir is an Arab name.
The story of an inmate named Waymond Anderson is tied to Michael Robinson's because they were in jail together at the time. And because Anderson would later claim that it was Michael Robinson's idea to concoct a story to sell to the side detectives. A scheme that Detective Russell Poole either fell for. Waymond Anderson first achieved notoriety as an R&B singer in the 80s named Suave. That's how he pronounced it. Signed to Capitol Records, and he had a minor hit with a cover of My Girl in 1988, which and they were 5 years later, in 2002, Waymond Anderson filed a personnel complaint against 4 LAPD officers, including Rafael Perez and David Mack. By this time, Poole's theory had been covered in the media for years. In fact, the report for this complaint by Anderson was dated December 20th, 2002, 3 months after Nick Broomfield's documentary Biggie and Tupac was released, starring Russell Poole and his theory, and pointing the finger at David Mack and Rafael Perez. And now Anderson suddenly remembers all kinds of crimes that he claims he witnessed David Mack and Rafael Perez committing a decade earlier. He even throws in an accusation that Perez had threatened him not to talk about Biggie's murder. Just like the claim that Suge had approached him about Biggie's murder in 1997, if there's a conspiracy theory, Anderson claims he was right in the middle of it, even if it doesn't make any sense. Anderson's personnel complaint against Mack and Perez and the 2 others goes nowhere, with all of his accusations being ruled as insufficient evidence or unfounded. But Anderson still wasn't done with this case yet. It's 2007 and the Biggie estate has refiled their massive wrongful death lawsuit against the city of LA, claiming that LAPD cops were involved in Biggie's murder. 2 years earlier, Robinson had had his deposition meltdown where he fled the building and ran onto a busy freeway. But Anderson's deposition is conducted at Corcoran State Prison, where running out of the building and into traffic isn't really an option. So he does the next best thing. He denies everything he's previously said about Rafael Perez and David Mack. Just like Michael Robinson, Waymond Anderson recants. In this deposition, Anderson also claims that Michael Robinson was a paid informant for the FBI and the LA Sheriff's Department. And Anderson would claim that Robinson approached him because Robinson needed something new to give his FBI handler so he could keep getting paid. He was supposed to bring them something once a month, but now he was in a jam because he was in jail. In other words, it's hard to be a street dope informant if you're no longer on the street. Going to jail had essentially hurt Michael Robinson's informant side business, and he needed something new. And Anderson claimed that it was Robinson's idea for him to contact the Biggie detectives. And if he gave information to the LAPD about the Biggie case, that Robinson would get credit for it and get his money. Now, it's very difficult to know when to trust what Anderson is saying. Anderson claimed in his 2007 deposition that at one point he was under what he referred to as a 90-day observation at what he called Patton, which is a state hospital in San Bernardino. The LA Times would report that he'd been sent there after experiencing a mental breakdown and that he'd been deemed mentally incompetent for a period. And Michael Robinson was a schizophrenic. So aren't these some interesting witnesses being used to support Poole's theory? So I don't know if the story about Robinson approaching Anderson in jail and the financial motive for him doing so is 100% true or 5% true. But we do know that Anderson and Robinson were housed together at the LA County Jail in Castaic. We know that because of this jail visitor log that shows them both housed in the same unit. And because Waymond Anderson confirmed it and even described Robinson as his neighbor. And we do know that Robinson was an informant for the FBI and the LA Sheriff's Department, just like Anderson claimed. And Robinson had admitted previously that he had been paid for information in the past.
So have you, in the past, have you received compensation for various parts of your information? Well, in the past? Yeah, I was in custody. Stuff you were on the street, yes. You supplied information in exchange for money. Yes. Okay.
So I think there's definitely at least an element of truth to Anderson's claims that it was Robinson's idea for him to meet with the detectives investigating Biggie's murder. And I believe it, because as we know from the last episode, just 3 months after Anderson swung and missed in '97, Robinson himself went to the Biggie detectives claiming he had information about Biggie's murder. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Waymond Anderson was dropping names like Keith Davis, aka Keefy D, and the Southside Crips. And then Robinson went and told detectives the killer was a Southside Crip named Kiki.
Do you know what they used to call him when he was a Southside? Might be Kenny or Kiki or something like that. I forgot. Kiki or something like that.
Robinson was just repeating nonsense that he heard from people like Anderson. And then Russell Poole just conveniently ignored almost all of it in his race to accuse Amir Muhammad. It's not unusual for inmates to conspire to try to trick law enforcement into believing a made-up story. They agree on what it is they're going to say, and then they back each other up in their interviews with detectives to make the story seem credible, because the same story is coming from multiple sources. So how did Anderson end up associated with this case years later if he was dismissed so quickly back in 1997? Well, like Robinson, Wayman Anderson found himself as a witness for the Biggie Estates lawsuit against the city of LA a decade later. And also like Michael Robinson, this would not go well. Anderson starts denying everything he said previously about cops being responsible for Biggie's murder. In this deposition, Anderson cleans up a lot of his previous statements and admits that he's been lying, but then he also launches into whole new wild claims. And the only time that I really believe him is when he's admitting that he's been lying. But here are some of the highlights. He claims that he and Robinson concocted a story in jail together and that it was Robinson's idea for Anderson to claim that he and Suge had met in person in the holding facility. And he says when he accused David Mack and Rafael Perez of committing crimes, that he'd used real crimes as examples, but then inserted their names into the stories. He also says that David Mack and Rafael Perez, quote, have nothing to do with this case. They had involvement with the Biggie murder, none at all. And when they ask him if he has any information on Mack or Perez being involved in Biggie's murder, he responds, I have information about them not being involved in the Wallace murder. No LAPD officer was involved with the Wallace murder. It was a lie, and I'm ashamed of it. This deposition was posted to a blog back in 2008. So for the past 13 years, anybody could read this. One person who I know Following the murder of rapper Biggie Smalls in Los Angeles in 1997, rumors began spreading that law enforcement officers, possibly from the NYPD, had him under surveillance at the time, and that they had witnessed the shooting and then either remained silent or even helped cover it up. And over the years, this has grown into a bit of an urban legend. Now, I've pieced together multiple pieces of evidence scattered throughout the case files, of which there are thousands of documents and probably 100+ hours of witness interviews, and I think I've figured out the source of these claims. And it starts with a simple question. Was Biggie under police surveillance in Los Angeles in the days leading up to his murder? And the answer may surprise you, because the answer is yes. Now, Biggie had multiple run-ins with the law in the years prior to his death. He dealt drugs and done some petty crimes in his earlier years, which he then rapped about. More recently, in July of 1996, a cop responding to his home in New Jersey over a report about a car parked illegally in a red zone turned into a huge police raid after that cop smelled marijuana smoke coming from the home. That raid uncovered drugs and weapons, drugs being marijuana. There were other investigations. I don't want to rehash all of it. It's been well covered in the media over the years, and I don't want to seem like I'm beating up on Biggie. But for our purposes, the point is that he was on law enforcement's radar at the time of his death. So, who was in LA watching Biggie? Our first clue comes from his own entourage and an incident that happened outside the Soul Train Music Awards at LA's Shrine Auditorium the night before Biggie was murdered. Biggie and Puffy and some of their entourage are inside the award show where Biggie is presenting an award. Outside, some members of their security detail and their drivers are waiting for them to come back out. They reportedly were inside the venue for about 90 minutes. During this time,
no matter what your experience was, we have a second chance at a father and son relationship. And this time is when we are the fathers.
A local cop suddenly appears and warns Bad Boy Security standing outside with their vehicles that there are cops across the street who have them under surveillance. Now, when I first came across this, I thought, that seems kind of sketchy. Why would one cop rat out other cops and potentially blow their operation? It sounded kind of shady to me. But then I got the other side of the story, and it took some digging. In every investigation, there's a document called the chrono, which is short for chronological record. It's like a journal where detectives make daily entries noting what work they did on the case that day. It lists everything from interviewing witnesses to printing flyers. In one of the first chrono entries for the Biggie murder case on March 9th, 1997, at 12:30 p.m., that one of the detectives on the case was contacted by an LAPD sergeant claiming that the NYPD had been conducting an ongoing investigation of what they refer to as the decedent, who was Biggie. Now, this information is coming in only about 12 hours after the shooting happened. So this is very, very early in the investigation that they get this first tip. And then buried in the chrono for the RHD detectives who eventually took over Biggie's case a few weeks later, and these detectives included Russell Poole, the famous or infamous detective in this case, depending on your point of view. And this entry was on April 17th, 1997, about 5 weeks after Biggie's murder. And here's where we learn exactly what happened outside the Shrine Auditorium during the Soul Train Music Awards. An LAPD gang detective is on duty in the South Bureau Division on the night of the award show when he gets a page from a sergeant who is on duty working overtime at the award show. This sergeant at the award show has been contacted there by an NYPD detective and an IRS agent who are working a task force outside the Shrine Auditorium. It turns out the IRS agent was a special agent with the Department of the Treasury, and the NYPD detective was named Detective Oldham, and he worked with their major case squad. So this LAPD gang detective gets this tip from the sergeant at the award show, and he decides he's going to go down there himself to the shrine to locate these two detectives from New York and find out what's going on. Because apparently the LAPD isn't aware that there's an operation happening, or at least this detective, hasn't been made aware of it. So this LAPD gang detective finds the detectives from New York outside the award show, and he sees that they're taking surveillance photos. And when he looks to see who they're photographing, he sees Bad Boy Security Team waiting around their vehicles outside the venue. And he notices that some of them have bulges in their jackets, indicating that they may be armed. And then he recognizes one of them. He recognizes Inglewood police officer Reggie Blaylock. And Blaylock would end up being a witness to Biggie's murder the following night. He was driving the third SUV with Bad Boy's head of security, Paul Offord, that was behind Biggie's Suburban when the shooting happened. They're the ones who chased after the shooter but lost him. So this gang detective spots Blaylock standing outside the Shrine Auditorium, recognizes him as an officer with the Inglewood Police Department. And what this detective does next inadvertently changes music history forever. Know about the surveillance, then it's a safe bet that their whole entourage eventually found out about it, either that night at the awards show or in the days that followed. Maybe they don't know specifically what agency was doing it, but they know agents from New York were watching them. So they've got that in their mind. They were being watched. Then, during interviews with detectives working Biggie's case, some witnesses were shown images from the Peterson Museum that I think some of them interpreted to be surveillance photos of Bad Boy's entourage leaving the party moments before Biggie was shot. Well, I don't think they were surveillance photos. I think they were video stills. And here's why. The LAPD detectives found out about the home video filmed across the street from the Peterson after someone called in following an episode of America's Most Wanted about the Biggie case. And the video had been shot by tourists from Houston. So the LAPD detectives get a copy of this videotape from the Houston Police Department. And these detectives have screenshots from the video printed out to make it easier to show witnesses key moments and individuals captured in the footage. Here are some bad photocopies of stills from this video that are in the case file. So I think these video stills, combined with the knowledge that they'd been under surveillance the night before at the award show, combined with the fact that detectives also showed witnesses some actual surveillance photos taken by the New York detectives at the award show the night before, led some people to falsely conclude that agents had been present when the murder happened and had captured it on film. Incidentally, years later, Detective Oldham would co-write a book called The Brotherhoods. And this book was about a different case that he worked, but in it he briefly mentions the story about infiltrating the Soul Train Music Awards in 1997, and that he did it by posing as a for the event. And he says in the book that he flew home the following afternoon, just hours before Biggie's murder, because he was scheduled to testify in a gang case back in Brooklyn. Had he not flown home that day, he likely would have been at the Peterson the night of the murder. Earlier, I said the gang detective who tipped following Biggie's murder in 1997, numerous jailhouse informants came forward with claims about who had committed the crime. And the one that would get the most attention was from an inmate named Michael Robinson, who, even though he was a schizophrenic, convicted murderer, would become the foundation of the Detective Russell Poole theory that an LAPD officer and his friend had murdered Biggie. But Michael Robinson's statement, which you will hear in this episode for yourself, has been wildly misrepresented by Russell Poole and others over the years. Even after we put segments of this interview into the Murder Rap documentary 6 years ago, Poole's friends and collaborators have continued to pretend that this recording doesn't even exist. And when you hear it, you'll know exactly why. At the time that Michael Robinson gave this statement, where he allegedly named Biggie's killer, he was in the LA County Jail in Castaic with another man named Waymond Anderson. Anderson had been a singer in the 80s whose cover of My Girl for Capitol Records had been a minor hit. But then a few years later, Anderson was convicted of a 1993 arson murder for a fire in a drug den behind this apartment building near USC's campus that killed a person. Anderson got life in prison for it. And he's come forward himself with some wild tales over the years about the murders of both Tupac and Biggie, even though he'd been in jail for years by the time of the murders. Anderson would claim that Michael Robinson got some of his information from him while they were housed together in the same unit in jail. The statement given by Michael Robinson in 1997 would form the foundation for Russell Poole's entire theory that LAPD officer David Mack had conspired with a friend named Amir Muhammad to kill Biggie. Amir Muhammad was a mortgage broker living in the San Diego area at the time. He had been college friends with David Mack. When David Mack went to jail for a bank robbery, Amir Muhammad visited him in jail. And this visit, combined with what Michael Robinson would say in his interview, would make Amir Muhammad Russell Poole's prime suspect for the next 2 decades. Without Michael Robinson, Poole's theory never exists. In April of 1997, just a few weeks after Biggie's murder, Waymond Anderson had come forward with a claim that Suge Knight had approached him in jail about the Biggie murder. A claim that was later disproven by the fact that he and Suge were never together at the inmate reception center in LA like he'd claimed. 3 months later, on July 10th, 1997, Michael Robinson then stepped forward and took his shot. Michael Robinson was interviewed by RHD Detective Ball and an LA Sheriff Sergeant named Valdemar. And this interview is, frankly, bananas.
July 10, 1997, the time is approximately 14:10 hours. My name is Detective Ted Ball, B-A-L-L, my number is 17549 from Robbery Homicide Division. This is a tape-recorded interview with Michael Robinson. Is it R-O-B-I-N-S-O-N, Michael? Yes. And your date of birth? 112457. 112457. Your booking number? 591. Excuse me, could it be 15109? Yes, that's 019. 019. Okay, and that's what's on your wrist. Okay, also in attendance at this interview is a LASO Sergeant, excuse me, Richard Alomar.
In 2002, a book about Russell Poole's theory came out called Labyrinth. We get to why we're here. This is the Russell Poole theory's big moment. Michael Robinson is going to tell us firmly and without a doubt the name of Biggie's killer. And that person is, well, he can't actually remember. In fact, the detective has to remind him of the name of his own suspect.
Tell me what you know about the Biggie case.
The dude name is Abraham. I can't say his name. It's Arab name.
Okay, who's the dude? Who are you talking about?
His name. I told you his name yesterday. I can't. I'll read right. So,
okay, so this is the man you're describing here.
Yes.
He is the killer.
Yes.
Okay. You know him as Abraham?
Abraham, or I told you the name yesterday. Name Arab name.
Okay, you told me yesterday the name of
Amir.
This has to be one of the shakiest witness IDs in the history of law enforcement. It's clear to me that Poole's star witness, who started this whole thing, clearly doesn't really know the guy's name. The detective has to tell him, is this tape real? Are these actors? Is this hour-long interview where he talks about not only this murder, but a whole totally unrelated, old, unsolved murder of a police officer from years earlier? Can you tell me if this hour-long interview with their star witness is fake? Because they act like this tape doesn't even exist. According to the Dead Wrong book, Michael Robinson stated later, under oath, that the only name he gave Detective Ball in this interview was Amir. Well, that's a lie. You just heard it for yourself. So Michael Robinson lied about this under oath. So let's see what else he says. Robinson claims to have known Biggie's killer for years.
How long would you say you have known this man?
About 5 years, 10 years, maybe longer, 12.
He's then asked to describe this Abraham, Ashmir, or Amir person.
Hey, did you know this man?
Yes.
Have you ever seen him?
Yes.
What's he described as?
About 6'1", maybe 6'2".
Male, black, white?
Black.
How much does he weigh?
So about 220, 230.
Well, Russell Poole's Amir Muhammad was 5'11" and 180 pounds. So the description doesn't match at all. Robinson is describing a big guy, but Amir Muhammad is medium-sized.
So there you have it, folks. Collateral damage, you know. You don't want to be collateral damage in these rap beefs. You know what I'm saying? I had a little technical difficulty, but I'm back on track. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to let y'all know that this started in the street and it spilled up onto wax, the Tupac underneath there. You don't want something to start on wax and spill into the streets because that's just whack, you know? So y'all think about that before y'all start going out there, putting y'all life on the line, doing all this type of shit. Dissing on wax, people's dead people and all that. I mean, yeah, there's a certain thing called truth, you know? You gotta be very understanding of what's going on in life. Because if you don't, you're just gonna be trapped. That's the circumstances you dealt. A whole lot of bullshit because you couldn't keep your emotions intact. And I ain't saying don't defend yourself and don't go out there and be a man about your shit and let people know where you stand and what time it is. But I'm just saying, like, to rap a poem to somebody is already emotional and stuff, and then saying that you want to do all types of shit to them. You know? Like, keep it lyrical. Keep it play. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to be lyrical master of ceremonies, you have to know how to mix it up and keep it on good, you know, amicable terms after that. Everything else is just uncivilized. So to err is human, to forgive, divine. It's more about Mizzle. You know my slogan. Keep it real in the field. Forget how they feel. Come on.